You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Ho-Sang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! He gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome in to our Dog Pound Podcast season preview episode. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to go through the IceDogs' upcoming lineup for the start of the OHL regular season here on Friday as the IceDogs begin on the road in Ottawa and Kingston. Guys, thank you to those who have been patient with us. We did that season premiere episode right before the season, and we also had one live game recap on our YouTube channel for you guys for the preseason game to kind of get you guys a little bit of taste of what to expect this season with our live post-game shows. But again, make sure to give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast on X for all of our IceDogs content. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on our YouTube channel by searching Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to everybody who's watching us today. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell if you're enjoying the video version of the podcast on-demand audio platform. Cam, as we look ahead at the upcoming season for the IceDogs, we got through the preseason. We're going to go over the updated lineup and everything like that, but it's just exciting to finally be back talking about IceDogs regular season hockey. I know it's been a very, very long offseason here.
No, absolutely. And obviously last year it didn't go as planned. It was an improvement over the prior year, but this is the first season among the last 3 or 4 where, the expectations is kind of the playoffs. And obviously finishing last in the league the last few years might seem a little bit outlandish, but this team's been kind of rebuilding over the last few seasons. And now this is kind of that culmination. We've seen a lot of things, a lot of great things in the offseason. Kevin He getting drafted to the Winnipeg Jets. An entire new decor, as well as our top pick, Brady Waslin, as well as Max Creed, and Humphreys kind of getting involved from this most recent draft, but definitely a lot of excitement coming into this season, and it is a different kind of excitement as we're on the march to the playoffs.
And we'll hear from IceDogs captain Gavin Bryant in segment 2 of today's show. We're going to have a Gav's Leadership Lounge, a special season preview episode with the IceDogs captain. Some great stuff there in segment 2. But as far as segment 1 here, we're going to go over the lineup. We're going to go over the fan polls and everything like that with you guys here as we preview kind of the start of the IceDogs season, what the lineup's going to look like and how their season's going to really start here. So with that said, Cam, let's quickly take a look at the updated lineup here, and I got it up on the video version for you guys watching. As we look at it, and again, this is subject to change. I just kind of put this together as far as what we saw from last year, what we've seen in the preseason so far, and with the ages of different players. So obviously the subtractions there, Connor Federico, a graduate, has moved on to pro hockey. Then Evan Klein, Ryan Van Netten, Mike Podlu were not back, who would have been overagers with the team this season, as well as Andrew Vermeulen, who was traded to Kitchener last week, as well as William Stewart, Urban Podrekar, Artem Frolov. Sorry, thank you. I can't. The thing's so small I can't read it right here. But Artem Frolov and Urban Podrekar, along with William Stewart, Andrew Vermeulen. So you had technically 8 guys that are going to be different from last season. A lot of turnover there, especially on the defensive side, Cam. Quickly just touching on the subtractions there. Some of them were bound to happen with having too many overagers on the roster, but the notable ones there, Frolov and Podrekar, and even Vermeulen, who we said had looked really good in training camp for the IceDogs. And obviously Kitchener thought that maybe they'd have a bigger role for him than what the IceDogs and head coach Ben Boudreau were able to provide for him here.
No, absolutely. Vermeulen did impress at camp, but this roster is getting a little bit more difficult to crack every year. They keep adding to it, and now we're kind of at a spot. I think Lashko was probably maybe the surprise one, or the one that just because an NHL drafted player comes over from the queue and and signs and is ready to play for the team. It's going to be a big impact. He's going to have a pretty big impact on the Ice Dogs and dramatically changes the outlook for the forwards, I think, going into the season. But just to touch on some of the subtractions, you can't replace Federico. I think we said it tons of time last season. The guy wants to play here regardless of how they're doing in the standings. Hometown just absolutely laid everyone out. Is a body on the line every single game. It was just a treat to watch. And Podolou as well. We saw such an improvement year over year, but injuries just got him at last season. It's tough that we're not going to get to see him again, but obviously the overager moving on. The surprise one was definitely the Frolov and Padrekar transaction. I think that surprised a lot of people, but we said last year that this decor, maybe the way to improve it wasn't in the draft, given how well the forward core was built through the draft, that with the timing, it's just harder for a defenseman to kind of transition into that OHL defenseman all at the same time. They take a little bit more time and to develop would be the word I'm looking for here. And they went out and got some fantastic big hitters that I think are going to dramatically change what was a pretty big weakness on the Ice Dogs last season, and that was physicality from the back end. So I'm excited to see the completely revamped defense, and no matter what, it'll be different.
As we look ahead here to the forward group there, and I've got it up again on the video version, starting with the forwards, Ryan Robrick, Alex Asadorian, Kevin He, Ethan Zada, Lashko, as you mentioned, who was picked up off waivers from the QMJHL as an overager. We're going to get into that as well. Matthew Paris, Lashko should be noted. He's a Seattle Kraken prospect and has looked good so far in the preseason. Matthew Paris as well. Then you've got Brady Waslin, the 4th overall selection, Ivan Galyanov, the 4th-round pick rookie from last year, and Mike Levin, as well as Rafik Dayanov, Mason Ray, and the newcomer Doherty from the Sarnia Sting. Max Crete right now as the extra forward, the 2nd-round selection for the Ice Dogs in this past draft. And again, a Bulldog out there, and there's been a lot of high praise for the way that Max Crete plays, almost like an Ethan Zada, the way that they're such good 200-foot players and are really grinders in that sense. So when you look at the forward group, Cam, obviously the notable guys like Rubrick and Kevin He are going to stand out, but what are you liking from the way that it's kind of constructed here?
Well, first off, through the preseason, they played 4 games, and Bray Waslin leads the team in points with 6 points through 4 games. So I think that when the draft happened, a lot of pundits that follow the OHL were surprised that Waslin fell to the Ice Dogs at 4. Obviously, we had the best odds to get number 1 overall. Not only did we not get number 1, but we didn't get 2 or 3. And I think that the ability to add Waslin, and he looks like he's everything is advertised as a top-end prospect in the OHL, and not just the OHL, but in hockey. It looks like he's fitting in quite well. But the player I'm most interested in on the entire roster, obviously you got Rubrick. How is he going to answer the record-setting season he's got? Kevin, he just got drafted. What's he going to look like in his draft plus 1 season, or his draft season? I think it's Ethan Zada. Like, we can both agree, we talked last year that offensively, it just was definitely a disappointment in that sense. He played and developed into such a good 200-foot player. He's relied on the penalty kill a lot and definitely seemed to really excel in those like role player kind of spots. But offensively, it just didn't really come together. Now, he's represented Canada twice now, and he just looks like he's far more confident with the puck. The times that we saw him in training camp, as well as our lone home preseason game, like, it's noticeable that he wants the puck all the time, and he has got some chemistry building. So it's going to be really exciting to see how he comes out of the gate in the first few games of the season, because I think, again, I remember that first fight against London in the second game of the season, which was out of nowhere against Haltonen, which was so stunning. But I think that in the first few games, if he can get a couple points, maybe a goal or 2, that's going to go a long way. I just think that he is definitely the player that I'm most interested to watch this season. And to be honest, this is the first time in a few seasons where there's more than just 1 or 2 guys that, you really want to keep an eye on.
And when you look at the preseason, as you mentioned there, I've got the stats up. there. You mentioned Brady Wasson, Mike Levin with 3 goals. Again, you take the preseason with a grain of salt. Some teams are very undermanned and things like that. But in the areas that you want to see the Ice Dogs improve, you're happy that these kind of guys are coming through with points right now. It's hopefully going to carry over for them with that confidence and momentum going into the regular season. The Zadas, the Brady Wassons, you mentioned Jack Brody with 4 points from the back end as well. And you know that the big boys are going to score and things like that, but when you bring in guys like Lashko and you have such a more veteran of a decor, I think that it's going to help elevate everybody, and we're going to get into the polls and everything like that as well. But, I'd be pretty encouraged from what I see from this Ice Dogs roster up front right now.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think that it is not outlandish to not just hope, but expect the playoffs this year. It's obviously tough to do when the team has been last in the CHL 2 seasons in a row. And I just think that now last year we said that it was a success in the sense that there's hope going into this season. And we had a lot of good stories last year, but I think this is the first time where we go into a season like, okay, I think that even if it's 7th or 8th, I think that it is not going to be January and we're like, man, scoreboard watching. And I think that's what, it's just a really exciting time. And that forward core kind of leads the way. Our first drafted player since Phil Tomasino and in Kevin He. And I'm just really, really excited to see how he elevates his game after, he got his first point in a preseason game with an assist for the Jets. And just so good to see. He's such a good kid. Like, it was just great to see.
As we look at the back end, and we kind of discuss this, and we'll discuss it with Gavin Bryant later in the show, a completely revamped decor with 4 new names back there, 5 actually if you count the rookie Frasca. But you got Noah Van Vliet coming in as an overage defenseman, obviously a guy that's been in the thorn in the Ice Dogs side for many years with the Bulldogs and the Sudbury Wolves. Matt Virgilio coming over from the Sioux Greyhounds. He was away at Detroit Red Wings camp. Van Vliet was away at Rangers rookie camp. Jack Brody, who was with the Boston Bruins at their rookie camp, caught up with him as well over in Buffalo. Callum Chanowski, a guy that the Ice Dogs acquired from the Brantford Bulldogs last year as a former second-round draft pick defenseman, a local product here who obviously has a pass with Ben Boudreau as well through his local camps that he ran here in Niagara. Blair Scott was an underrated pickup as well in the Jack Brody acquisition that sent Podrekar and Frolov in that 3-way deal to Flint, and then Nick Frasca right now penciled in right now as the 6th defenseman as a third-round rookie. And you've also got Joey Wasslin, the brother of Brady Wasslin that they just acquired from the Guelph Storm for a late-round draft pick and signed him kind of as a depth defenseman there. And Darcy DeWatcher, who played some games for the Ice Dogs in the back end last year. So those right now would be 2 extra defensemen. And we saw with the Ice Dogs how undermanned they were on the back end this year. It's nice to see that they do have 8 guys signed. But on top of that, what are you liking from the decor? As you mentioned, kind of a little bit meaner, a little bit more harder to play against in that sense.
Well, Van Vliet and Virgilio, I think, are like you mentioned, they're just meaner and harder to play against. And Scott was really impressive in training camp in that lone preseason game that we got to watch at the Meridian Center. Like, it is a much harder decor to play against. It reminds me of when I became an Ice Dogs fan, and there was kind of at the tail end of their really strong seasons, and the player that kind of got me into the Ice Dogs was Mason Howard, and I don't know if we'll ever see a player like him on the team ever again, who just hit like a Mack truck and was built like one too. But those decors back then were just really physically punishing. And that was one thing last year that we just didn't have. Even Sobolev, for as big as he was and talented as he was, I think we leaned on him a little bit offensively as well. And you mentioned it being undermanned. Like, how many games do we have 5 defensemen? It just and that's really tough, to put any team in, not just regardless of the Ice Dogs who are rebuilding. So the fact that we've got 8. And not only that, like it's not guys that shouldn't be on the team or shouldn't be on the ice. I'm excited that if there is an injury or something like that, it is not just all hands up and it's like this. We're going through it again. We'll actually have some options here. So I like I said, I think it's gonna give Flores and Robertson a lot more help. I don't think it's gonna be again because cycling down low is just gonna be so much more difficult.
Yeah, and going off of that, Gavin Bryant, who we'll hear from later, obviously still recovering from his off-season shoulder surgery on the forward group. So that's another guy to add to that mix, as well as Andrew Wysick on the back end. And Andrew Wysick's just a guy who's had some really tough luck with injuries the last 2 seasons with the Ice Dogs, and he's hopefully going to be back sometime in November, December area for him. But when you add Wysick to that decor, Cam, that just makes it so much better. You wonder if he's going to be the main guy on the power play. Is it going to be Jack Brody? Is it going to be Callum Chanowski? Like, there's going to be options now for the power play, and just the whole depth of that decor being better when Wysick is hopefully healthy back in that lineup as well.
It's funny because as we were looking over the defense, I completely forgot about Wysick, who obviously because he's been injured, and when I looked at that, I'm like, okay, that's gonna be our decor. Wysick comes back, and I don't even know who the seventh would be. Like, it's gonna be very difficult. And like you mentioned, like, Wysick really took a step last year offensively, where he looked like he was really starting to become a player that could power play could quarterback a power play. And that's exciting. Like I mentioned, like I completely forgot that he is going to come in here and cause a lot of headaches for the coaching staff, because I don't know what they would do in that sense. Because Frasca's, as the rookie, maybe he would be the odd man out just at the beginning. But he's looked good so far, and that's not. I don't. And again, I don't know if it's a trade, but it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, and you mentioned Wysick, only 29 games played last season, so we'll see if he's able to come back full 100% there. Something to mention here as we go over the goalies with Flores and Robertson. They've also got Matt Humphreys, who's right now playing down in the OJHL. So, he's signed as their third goalie right now, but they do have 4 overagers. Now, they can still play with 4 overagers, but there becomes a point in the season where they can only have 3 after a certain point. So you can play 3 overagers. You can have 4 or 5 or 6 on the roster, but you can only play 3 at a time. Right now, Gavin Bryant is out, and then you have to make a decision. I believe it's sometime in November. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's going to be Gavin Bryant, Owen Flores, Lashko, and Van Vliet right now. So right now that's 2 forwards, a D, and a goaltender. So they're going to may have to make a tough decision at some point, and depending on how quickly Gavin Bryant comes back, who knows what the decision will be with that. But as of now, Flores and Robertson are the goalies, and Matt Humphreys is going to start down there with the Aurora Tigers in the OJHL. So what are you thinking there from the goaltending and the elephant in the room that they have 4 overagers right now?
I think, just judging by what happened. For anyone, they came into the season with 3, but Lushko went on waivers midway. It was late in training. It was after our first episode. I think it was right after.
Yep.
And I don't know if that was maybe a surprise. Anytime a player of that stature enters in the league, and you're a team trying to make the playoffs now, like, obviously you try and go out and acquire him. I think that, I don't know. It's not fair to guess who would be the one out, because honestly, given all of the 4 players involved, Gavin Bryant's a captain. He's not going anywhere. Then you've got Van Vliet, who has been a fantastic defenseman, and really, outside of Rubrick and Kevin He, obviously, probably are one of our most important players, because, again, the entire decor is new, and I think they need some of that leadership, and he is gonna, and the way that he plays, I think, is what they want for the team. And then you've got Flores, who for 2 seasons has just been not hung out to dry, but has endured. And there's been so many nights, especially last year early on in the season, where he kept them in it when they should not have been in it. And if I were to hazard a guess, though, I think that it's going to come down to the play of Charlie Robertson early on. I think that, if that first month, depending on when Gavin Bryant comes back, we'll talk to him a little bit and see, how he's feeling. But if it's middle of October, late October, whenever, when he comes back, I would have to assume that it would, if Robertson has played really well, then first of all, Flores deserves the playoffs, regardless of what happens with the Ice Dogs. Like, if things don't go well this season, I really do hope that Flores specifically gets his shot, because he has battled so hard night in, night out, and quite often, has shown it on the ice as well. He's very, very emotional, and he doesn't like losing, and so I would probably hazard a guess, especially because Humphreys was such a high pick as well, and he looks the part, but again, it gets scary because if Robertson kind of stumbles a little bit out of the gate, this is a team that is playoffs. Like every time that we talk to, whether it's the coaching staff or any of the players, that is what is on their mind. That is their goal. It is not, let's see how we do. It is playoffs. And not having a really strong goaltender or someone that's, just performing very well, it's very difficult. But obviously one of them is going to be traded at some point, barring an injury. And knock on wood, we don't have any more of those between them. But I would have to assume it's probably Flores. That would be my guess.
Yeah, unless Gavin Bryant comes back and they do him a solid on the way out. But
very, very difficult situation. It might even be Loshko.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't. There's a lot of rules when it comes to like imports and waivers and overagers. It's kind of one of the harder parts about the OHL in terms of just like the rules and the teams the amount of players you can have and things like that. So they've got some options, and whether that allows them to get a few players that are a little bit younger, maybe that kind of fit that time frame that we've got. We'll see. Because again, this isn't like it's playoffs and that's it next year. Like next year, if playoffs are the goal this year, next year it's like top 4, let's win a couple rounds kind of situation. So if one of them is able to be traded to help with that, I could see that as well.
Yeah, Ben Boudreau already said this season that this was a last place team and they don't want to be a last place team again. So playoffs is the goal for them, and anything else is unacceptable. They've already said that already this season. As we kind of look at that and again, the Gabriel Eliason situation, from what I'm told, he's not going to be reporting to the Niagara Ice Dogs, and if a move does come, it can't come until, I believe, after the 28th of September there. So if a trade were to be made for in trading import players, we'll have to see if anything happens with that. But right now, Lashko is their only import player, and haven't been told anything otherwise. But they've also got a couple of guys in the hopper there with Humphreys as a goaltender. Hoddles and Eric Key are both signed as well as forwards that they can call up throughout the season. But really good forward depth right there, and you'd expect that they take a big step overall with the lineup. But Cam, before we kind of hit the break here, let's go over the polls here from the fans on Twitter. And again, thank you to everybody who contributed and decided to vote on these polls. So again, we got 5 quick polls to go over here, and we'll get through them as fast as possible. So which player will make the biggest impact for the Ice Dogs this season? Kevin He, Ryan Rubrick, Owen Flores, or Matthew Paris? It was a pretty tight one, Cam. Kevin He won this one with 47%, Ryan Rubrick 40%.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense in all honesty. Like, I think that if Kevin He's trajectory kind of carries on, getting drafted, and just his ability to skate, and not only that, his physical impact last year that isn't really talked a lot about. He got kind of a mean streak, and I'm curious to see him just be a little bit more of a leader as well this year. Leaned on even more than he was last season. Rubrick is obviously that doesn't surprise me at all either, because breaking all those records for the franchise, it's expected that he's just going to improve, right? So a lot on his shoulders as well. But I'm not surprised with the Kevin He selection.
Next, which Ice Dogs acquisition will make the biggest impact? Defenseman Jack Brody, defenseman Matt Virgilio, forward Andre Lashko, or defenseman Noah Van Vliet? This one was surprising to me because Lashko won it with 60%. Brody was second at 33%. I think all 4 of these guys are going to have big impacts. Let's just say that. That's why I put them all on the poll. And we're happy to have all 4 of them. But Lashko, probably the flashiest of the players. But for me, I think it's going to be what Jack Brody brings. And a lot of people high on him within the Ontario Hockey League and those that cover it as scouts. So, but regardless, taking nothing away from Virgilio and Van Vliet, who we've also raved about on this show already. All 4 are welcomed additions.
Well, I mean, I think that the reason why I think that he would have the biggest impact is just because the other 3 defensemen not going to be nearly as offensive, right? I think that their impact is going to be physicality and things like that, and the score sheet is usually what gets all the love. And I think Loshko is obviously a very talented player, drafted already by the Kraken, so I think that he has the chance probably to have a massive impact. If we get another 60-point player, like, that's huge. So that one doesn't really surprise me.
Another one that isn't really surprising, but which Ice Dogs rookie will have the biggest impact? Brady Wasslin wins this poll, 73% over Max Crete with 20 and Nick Frasca with 7. But I do think all three of these guys, just like the 2023 draft class, are going to have big impacts on the Ice Dogs for years to come.
Yeah, I think Wasslin, just because of his training camp and preseason so far, that he's going to get a real shot up high in the lineup. So he's just right out of the gate going to have an opportunity to really make an impact.
Next, which Ice Dogs player will take the biggest step forward from last season? Alex Asadorian, Callum Chanowski, Ethan Zada, and Charlie Robertson. As we talked about earlier, Ethan Zada is a guy that's really catching a lot of people's eye, and he won this poll with 43%. As you mentioned, just taking that step offensively. We know what kind of dominant player he can be defensively, and he's won 2 gold medals with Team Canada at different underage tournaments as well so far. But I expect a bounce-back season from Alex Asadorian. He was injury-plagued last season for a little bit there, and Callum Chanowski, we'll see what kind of power play opportunity he's able to get this year. And Charlie Robertson, as you mentioned, a guy that might be the backup to Owen Flores, but it's going to be a healthy competition there.
No, for sure. And Zada, like I said, he's the most interesting player for me going into the season. He has the real chance to go from 20 points to potentially 50, a massive jump. And you can just tell already that he's a completely different player than he was last season.
And then lastly, which Ice Dogs player will play an unsung hero role this season in helping the team climb up the standings? Blair Scott, Mason Ray, Mike Levin, or Ivan Galyanov? And Ivan Galyanov wins this poll 45%, Mike Levin 35%, Mason Ray 15%, Blair Scott 5%. But I can see all 4 of those players, and that's why I put them on the poll as under-the-radar guys that could really pull through and be a reason why the Ice Dogs get that depth scoring and are able to really make an improvement in the standings here.
All of them are feisty, especially Levin, which we were always surprised about every single time last season. But I think Galliano, just because his personality is loud and the way that he plays, he's very, very vocal on the ice, tries to get into it and maybe plays that agitator role a little bit. And again, someone that was surprising as a 16-year-old to have such an offensive flair. He started as a healthy scratch in the start of the season last year. So it doesn't surprise me either about Alan Galyanov, although all 4 of them are definitely going to play an important role. But Galyanov, again, much like Zada, I think he could have a massive improvement in terms of his offense.
So, Cam, before we hit the break here and we get to the second part with Ice Dogs captain Gavin Bryant, the Ice Dogs will start on the road for their first 3 games here. Ottawa-Kingston trip, and then they're at the Eastern Conference champions up there in Oshawa before they get their home opener against the formidable Brampton Steelheads on the following Sunday. So what are you hoping to see here before we get to our first game recap there after the Sunday home opener?
Honestly, I just want to see them survive the road trip. To start the season, they've got 3 games on the road. I would love 2-1. Just not 0-3. That's a... we're going to talk about this with Gavin as well, but, I think that it's so important for this team to just not be below 500 to start the season, like in the first month. I think that just go and beat some good teams, just figure it out early and don't slow down. It would be great for them to be in a playoff spot the whole season, and make it easy on the fans and themselves, but I just, to start the season, don't go 0-3. I think it's good that they start on the road because, the bond and the camaraderie you're going to get on the road is far more than at home. And I think with this team, they're going to grow and figure it out pretty quick.
We saw it the first half of last season and even the first month there. They were in a lot of games and they picked up points, but they weren't picking up wins. So you'd hope that they kind of translate that into wins this season and pick up the 2 points that they need to really build up the standings. And we saw, obviously, the last 2 years we're not good enough in that sense. So we're really hopeful there that with the moves that they've made and everybody taking steps forward here, that this is going to be a team that's going to at least compete for that 7th or 8th playoff spot. But we'll have to wait and see. So that was the first half of our season preview episode. And we're going to take you after the commercial break to our interview with the Ice Dogs captain, Gavin Bryant, right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. We'll be right back.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today. 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Cully's Original Sports Bar is your ultimate destination for unbeatable food, drinks, and sports action in Niagara. Whether you're gearing up for a big game, winding down after a day at the office, or just looking for a lively spot to catch up with friends, Cully's has you covered. Their menu is packed with mouth-watering options, from classic pub favorites to unique chef specials, all served alongside a wide selection of craft beers, cocktails, and daily drink deals. With multiple TVs broadcasting the latest sports events, you won't miss a minute of the action, no matter where you sit. Cully's Original Sports Bar, a proud supporter of Niagara Ice Dogs hockey. Whether you're gearing up for the game or celebrating a big win, Cully's is the place to be before and after every Ice Dogs matchup. Check out their menu online at cullys.com. Give them a call at 905-684-1771 or check them out on Facebook, X, or Instagram for more information. Located at 223 St. Paul Street in the heart of downtown St. Catharines, just minutes from the Meridian Center. Open daily Sunday to Thursday till midnight and Friday to Saturday till 2 a.m. for those late night eaters. Cully's, it happens here.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training, and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario. Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today, because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Galyanov.
This is Gavin Bryant.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Welcome back to segment 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast season preview episode. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you, and we're pleased to be joined on another edition of Gav's Leadership Lounge, brought to you by Cully's Sports Bar, with the captain of the Niagara Ice Dogs, Gavin Bryant, who's obviously getting geared up for the season. Gavin, thanks a lot for doing this, and we look forward to catching up with you a little bit here about what's to come on the season. But, exciting times, as always, going into your final OHL season, but I'm sure it's almost like Christmas morning when you finally get back there and are playing regular season games.
Yeah, I think the only depressing part on my end is I can't be out there with the guys going to war, but I'm definitely really excited for this weekend coming up. I think there's so much potential for this group. It's exciting times in Niagara right now, and there's not too better of a bonding weekend and too much of a better weekend than to go down on your Kingston Ottawa trip and get a couple of games in to start the year. So it's gonna be gonna be a good experience for the young guys getting on the road nice and early, and it'll be a great bonding experience, and hopefully we can come out with a couple points here.
What's your personal preference to start a season? Do you think that it's good to have a little road trip early on, or is it better to be in the comfort of your own home, playing at the Meridian Center, or throughout your career? Is it better to start on the road?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to it, right? I personally love being on the road. I think it's again such a bonding experience for the guys. Like best moments of my OHL career is on that bus and those bus rides. So I think the pros come in that aspect of it, but I've also this is my fourth year coming in. I played three season openers at Budweiser Gardens, so I think it's a good little mix up. Obviously, the Bud was my second home as a kid, so that was special. But no, there's pros and cons to it. I just think it's a perfect start for our group this weekend, and it's gonna be a good test for us.
Yeah, Canada Life Center. It's now being renamed to Budweiser Gardens down there in London. But I know you've been to a lot of games there, Gavin. But we talk about rinks in the Meridian Center. Like I know everybody's excited about the team and the roster and everything, but just how excited are you? Like when you get to the rink, like and feeling the energy when the crowd gets there, even pregame. Like, what's your usual kind of routine when you're going through things to get ready for a game, especially like a home opener and things like that? Like, is there any extra butterflies like before you go on stage to perform for, I guess, a music reference? Like, how do you feel when you get out there in front of a lively crowd and things are really starting to go and the music and everything gets going to really get the juices flowing for the game?
Yeah, I think routine's important for me. Take care of my shoulders a lot. I got the most fragile shoulders in the OHL. So I get those going before a game, get my head into it. And honestly, I don't know if it's just me as a person or whatnot, but I'll be the same amount of nervous for a game in novice or Adam and a game now or my first game in the OHL. I still have that same butterflies before the game. But you get that shift in, and especially at the Meridian, it's pretty easy to build off the crowd excitement and noise. So it's one or two shifts out there. You get a hit and you get a shot in, whatever, and you're usually ready to go. Because again, it's a great rink to play in, and the fans are amazing here. And no, they make it pretty easy in that aspect.
Speaking of your shoulder, obviously coming into the end of your OHL career. Is I'm trying to phrase this correctly. Your injury, are you a little bit more making sure that you're 1000% simply because that like this, that you're coming to the end of your OHL career as maybe back, a couple of years ago, if you had an injury that, maybe you try and get back a little bit earlier, but this time, is there a change in philosophy from you when it comes to that this year, just given the stage of your career you're at?
Well, yeah, that was just it, right? That was kind of the sit down that myself, my parents, and my agent had going into the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many problems with both of them last year, and I was able to manage it and sort of get through the year. But I mean, can I say I was at 100% every game? I can't, right? So it was one of those things where we sat down and said, "Listen, do we just get them both taken care of now, even if we miss a little bit of next year? Is it worth being 110% coming back?" And we ultimately came to that decision, and I'm standing by that decision as of now. And no, I'm just really excited to get back to 100% here and play some healthy hockey for the first time in a while.
And when you look at the roster and the things that have happened in the offseason, Gavin, I mean, you bring in three veteran D or more of a veteran defensive core. Obviously, hate to see guys like Podrekar and Frolov go, but you bring in Virgilio, you bring in Brody, you bring in Blair Scott, and you bring in Noah Van Vliet as an overager who's been in this league a long time and obviously has been a rival of you guys with his days with the Bulldogs and with the Sudbury Wolves. So with the revamped D-core with a very young forward group, obviously when you get back there you'll be one of the veterans there, but it's a very young forward core. How important do you think that was and the management, the coaching staff getting that new defensive core ready to go, and how much more efficient do you think you guys will be on the back end and being more of a competitive club and harder to play against in all aspects?
Yeah, I think that was kind of the goal heading into the summer was maybe get a little meaner, and I think they were able to do that really well. Obviously, you hate to see guys go, and I've been a a part of my fair share of trades in the dressing room, and it's tough to see. But those four guys you listed off, like I mean, they're pretty respected in the league, and I think when you're going into a away building and you know you're going up against one of those guys, you know those guys are always on your radar, right? So it's good to have ultimately all four of them on our team now, and I think it's going to bolster our back end to where I think it's got to be, and no, I couldn't be more excited to see those four wear a nice dog uniform this year.
Excited to see the roster changeover and obviously the coaching staff kind of getting a full off season. That being said, last year you guys had a lot of 16-year-olds in your lineup now, for a lot being moved and whatnot. But who in the lineup that you see so far, who in the dressing room so far this, training camp and off season, do you think has kind of grown into a leadership role the most that you are seeing to kind of assist you going into this season?
Yeah, a tough question to answer really because I think almost I can confidently say almost every guy in that room has kind of taken that maturity step and the kind of step where we're looking into this year as not a failure year. We're looking at if it is a failure year, then that's no playoffs. Like we're thinking that's our kind of mindset going into it, right? Being more consistent and all that. So I don't really think I need to point out one guy. I think everybody's kind of taken their own steps maturity wise and obviously on ice wise because every returning guy that I seen play last year coming into this year took the steps this summer and no they've grown as players off and on the ice, so that just adds the excitement for myself and for hopefully the fans obviously.
And when you bring in so many young players, last year you had four 16-year-olds in the lineup, Galianov, Zada, and Rubrick still there. Frolov moved in the offseason. And then you bring in a couple of more here that are going to crack the lineup in Waslin, Crete, Nick Frasca as well. Like those are a lot of your core guys that are younger players. So for those guys that are taking that step going into their second year as 17-year-olds, and we saw how great Robrick was, breaking every rookie record Niagara had for individual stats and things like that. Zada looks like he's obviously grown in all aspects, and Galianov was so productive for you guys. What's your, I guess, mindset of that young core in the group in the dressing room and how they've kind of blossomed and how they're kind of really going to be those next catalysts when you and the other leadership group is kind of gone? Just, I guess, how encouraged are you with what's to come there, when you're no longer wearing an IceDogs jersey, that the room will be in a good place?
Yeah, I'm confident right now to say like that it's in good hands. Like you said, I mean, going one by one, Rubes is a special guy on the ice, obviously, with what he was able to do last year, and it was pretty easy playing with him. And then for Zada and Galianov there, I thought they took great steps this summer on the ice. They'll never change off the ice, obviously, you two know that. But and then just the new guys coming in, the new draft guys, those three that you said. I didn't really know much of their games back in April, but seeing them for a month now on the ice, I think we made the right moves there. There are three great players on the ice and three great humans off the ice too. So I guess that's all you're kind of asking for a draft class coming in. So it's exciting times for sure, and and again it makes me wish I was a 06 playing for the IceDogs right now and not an 04. So it's cool for sure.
And that being said, like, just taking a look at the schedule and how the seasons have gone, the last two seasons specifically, how important is it for you guys to just stay 500 or be around there through the first month?
Yeah, I think above 500 is a goal we'd have to put in place for ourselves. I think just on a realistic standpoint for playoff wise, but no, I mean it's a grinding league, and I say it all the time for the young guys coming in. I mean, you hit those dog days of January and February, and it just really gets tough on the mind and whatnot, and those weeks turn into months, it seems. But no, it's just I think it's just a matter of staying consistent, especially this year. Obviously, a little more consistent than we were last year, but no, just staying the course, staying with the systems, and no, just kind of it's mostly about the culture this year. It's keeping that culture and the tightness, the tight group sort of thing, right? So I think that's the big thing this year.
And right now you're in kind of a unique situation because you're kind of a hybrid player / coach right now, because obviously you're the captain of the team, but you are still, in recovery mode. So maybe you're getting to see the game from a little bit different of a lens, maybe, seeing that overhead view. As far as the coaching side of things, you brought in 2 new assistant coaches. Obviously, Dan Paille has pedigree as being a Stanley Cup winning player. Ben Boudreau having a full season under his belt as the full-time head coach. What have you seen kind of in the evolution of the systems from the coaching staff, and what the message they're trying to get through to you guys? Is it like the clearest and most concise that it can be going into the season, and from, you've had many coaches over your career, but how encouraged are you from what the coaching staff is expecting of you guys that you're going to implement, those things to make things like the power play better and just to, improve in all aspects, obviously, as a team that was last place in the standings last year?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, kind of going back to last year on a quick note, the 2 guys we had on the bench last year, Brandon Shaw and Damon Rasico, were unbelievable guys as well, and I wish nothing but the best for them. But turning the page on that coming into this year, no, I didn't. I had no prior knowledge of Mark, and Danny. Danny was pretty cool to me. I kind of grew up watching his game, and almost kind of modeled my game after his. He's a big penalty kill guy, so I was really excited for that. And no, I was almost underwhelmed coming into the season because those 2 have been unbelievable for us so far, and I don't think one guy in that room has one bad thing to say about the both of them. So it's pretty cool in that regard. And then obviously a guy like Benny being at the front of the ship is pretty special to have. If you're a player, he'll run through a wall for any one of us. And no, again, can't say enough good things about him and those 2 guys. But no, those 3 showing up every day with the plans that they've had for this month in training camp has been pretty humbling for myself and for all the guys. So we appreciate it a ton. But no, we understand the work they're putting in, and we just hope to kind of give it back and reward them this year with obviously success and consistency. So
last one from me, Gav. Now your second off season with the team, what's been the biggest difference in just the vibe of the team from last year?
Yeah, you know what? I think kind of after I want to say like January or February, times were getting rough for us. I think it was kind of getting mathematically impossible for us to get in. So we were kind of just we weren't playing like we don't care, but we were playing like that, kind of keeping that positive attitude, but going out every night and just saying like, screw it, let's just go give it all we got, right? And I think that was kind of a part of our culture that was being built at the end of last year, and it's kind of lingered throughout the summer, and it's really picked up to start this year. And I think that was the biggest message the coaches wanted to give myself, first of all, and me to obviously relay to the team. And I think the boys have done a great job at that. And I just think it's a different attitude in a way that we're expecting a lot more out of ourselves this year than last year. And I think if we under succeed that, then it'll be pretty disappointing. But I don't think we're going to be in a position to do that. I'm really, really confident and positive in this group, like I've been saying. And no, I think the culture that we were building at the end of last year has picked up and grown at the start of this year.
Lastly, before we kind of get into a couple other things with with an exciting thing you have going on, Gavin, like when guys come back from NHL camps, just like, do you see like a little bit extra jump from those guys? And the Kevin Hees and Virgilio's away, Van Vliet, Brody, like all those guys were away at NHL rookie camps or training camp, and in Kevin's scenario. So like, is there a player that you're looking at coming back this year to really take a big step that you've kind of seen on and off the ice so far through training camp, through preseason, that you're saying, okay, this guy's going to take a big jump this year?
Well, if you guys can obviously hear it in my voice, I'm fighting something right now. So I've been at the rink all week, but and this has kind of been the week the guys have been trickling back from NHL camps. But I guess I'll point out Brody. He was right back after rookie camp, and obviously Brandon, you had some good things to say about his rookie camp. But just his habits off the ice. That he didn't catch him from that camp. He came in with them, but just his preparation habits off the ice that ultimately make him, I think, or help make him the player that he is on the ice. Really excites me to see what he can do this year. And no, it's just it's exciting on that end. And I'm sure the 4 guys that were gone to main camps are going to come back and be the exact same way, pick up what they picked up, and then obviously come back here and pick up where they left off. So it's again, it's exciting. It's cool to see, and it'll be good just to see what a full Niagara IceDogs roster can do this year.
So tell us a little bit about Gav's Corner. This is something that at the time of recording this was announced today by the Niagara IceDogs. A great initiative that you're kind of starting up. Tell us where what inspired you to kind of go about this.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, and thanks for putting it on your social, guys. I appreciate that. But no, it's the initiative for me. It's just a way for me to kind of non personally, like it is personal for me. I don't personally have it, but it's just a way for me to kind of get family stories, get people that's been affected by it stories on it, and kind of hear from them how they've been affected by it, and then me obviously sharing my affection from it. So I guess my personal side of it, I kind of had three moments with it. So growing up, I played 5 years with a guy in Brantford who had type 1 diabetes, and just I was a younger kid, kind of seeing what he would go through on a daily basis. Being a hockey player, it was pretty interesting to me and pretty cool how he would handle himself. And then my first year in the OHL, my roommate and captain there, Mark Woolley, who runs Woolley's Warriors, which is a non-profitable diabetes foundation as well. He has type 1 as well. So seeing his day-to-day basis with it, and seeing the work he put in with that foundation and the money he was able to raise for it was pretty inspiring to me as well. And then I guess the last reason kind of hitting more home to me was in January during COVID, my sister was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And and obviously I think that was the worst one because all the negatives kind of came to me right away. I was looking up, and it was terrible of me, but I was looking up like all the negatives on it. Right. And it was pretty scary times because obviously I care about her a lot, and she's the rock of the family. Right. So it was, it's just one of those things. I see those 3 scenarios, and I see those 3 people that are close to me go through it on a daily basis, and especially my sister, because I see her the most, and the fight she puts with it is really inspiring to me. So I think this is just the least I can do to bring families together, bring families to a game, meet them, get their story, and just kind of grow the initiative. And the big thing, just bringing people together, I think is the big one for me.
And top notch, man. Wouldn't expect anything less from you. Talk about how a little bit how it's going to work, and what you're planning to essentially provide every home game, it looks like.
Yeah, so each home game we just put it out on the website to the public today, I think, and then it was to season ticket holders or whatever before. But the goal is to get a family we got 4 tickets each game. Get a family out that's been affected, however which way they are. But get them seated, get them watch the game. They'll get shown up on the video board there, kind of with their story and their family name and whatnot. And then ultimately after, I'd go up and meet them, kind of get their story, their side of it, and like I said, kind of share my side of it. But again, it's just it's a thing that I hope we can get. I think we have obviously 34 home games this year, so if we could get 34 families, that would be the goal, and that would be unbelievable. But if it was 20, 25, whatever, it's bringing those families together, right? So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And then on a side note as well, on November 3rd, we're doing another diabetes game. So that'll kind of be a fundraising game where we'll I think we got warm-up jerseys planned, which will have a diabetes theme to it. We'll throw some blue in it, and that'll be good. We're doing Chuck a Puck. Diabetes Canada is doing a lot with it, so that'll be a great fundraising opportunity too. So it's I'm hoping it just grows, and I'm hoping we can kind of bring awareness through the initiative through Niagara this year.
Yeah, so lastly about that, like what do you want people to take away from it? Obviously, you kind of mentioned it a bit there, but like what do you want people to take away from it, and what are you most excited, I guess, about continuing this on? And obviously with your platform being the captain of the Niagara Ice Dogs, it being a communities team here in Niagara, like are you really hoping that this can take off and that you can still continue it even when your OHL career ends and if you go to pro hockey and things like that? Like is this something that you want to continue on with wherever your next journey is past this season?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was kind of the topic of conversation I was talking about it at the end of last year was the fact that yes, only have 1 year left in this league, but it's something I definitely want to keep going. I want to play hockey for as long as I can. So if it's something I can bring on to wherever I land next year, that's ultimately the goal. I think it's just it's an initiative to just kind of, like I said, I'll keep using the word awareness, but kind of bringing awareness to just those affected and what they kind of have to go through on a daily basis and how much their lives are different in not so much a negative way, but you look at the positives from it too, right? Like those three scenarios I named off for you, those three people are still playing hockey to this day, and some of them were diagnosed when they were a kid. Obviously, my sister was diagnosed just a couple of years ago, but she's still playing. Mark's out east playing in St. FX, and my other buddy there is still playing as well. So it's something where you want to know what it is. You want to I'll use it again. You want to bring awareness to it, and you just want to understand what they got to go through, but also say like, hey, like we can play too. We're active. We can do things as well, and no, I guess that's kind of the big goal for it, just bringing people together in that regard.
Well, it's great to hear that, Gavin, and I'm sure your friends and your sister are very proud of you for stepping up and bringing this to light and going ahead and doing this into the future. I'm sure it's a real exciting time and proud moment for your family. But thanks for giving us your time today, and I know you're a little bit under the weather, so we really appreciate you coming on and giving the Ice Dog fans a little bit of insight to what's going on in that room, how excited you guys are for this season, a little bit of an insight there. Before we let you go, do you have any questions for us?
No, I guess you guys will probably cover a lot in the preview, obviously, but no, I guess I'll just say I appreciate both of you guys having me on. I appreciate you guys' support throughout the year. I saw it firsthand last year, and I know it won't be much different this year, but no, we're gearing up. We're gearing up for something special this year, I hope. But no, I just appreciate again you guys having me on, and appreciate what you guys do.
Yeah, I know your buddy Colin Ward wanted me to ask you about your golf game, but again, you'll have to take him down next summer. Colin Ward from the OHL and 60 podcast, so I know you're going on with them next week too. So good luck with that, and hopefully they don't ask you too many Brantford questions. But again, Gavin, really appreciate it, and best of luck with the recovery, and hopefully we see you back on the ice soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it so much.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.